Hello everyone. On this channel, I feel that information about what is happening in China is often not correctly conveyed to countries other than China, so I will be disseminating the information I have gathered in English. I'm getting information from multiple media, so I'd be happy if you could comment on the content of the video. Also, English is not my native language, so I use an AI speaker to create the voice to convey the information correctly. This time, I would like to introduce an expedition to a bank that has been attracting attention in China recently. This movement, especially among young people, involves getting up early in the morning, taking the train to a city far away, opening a bank account, and depositing money. There are many such people in China today, and they are called deposit special soldiers. These people get up early in the morning, move to Shanghai, for example, open a bank account and deposit money. After making a deposit, I will go sightseeing and return home, so it also serves as a trip. I would like to introduce a case study. There is a town called Shaoxing which is famous for being the hometown of Lu Xun. A person who lives here got up at 5 o'clock on June 3 to open a bank account in Shanghai. Then, I took the first high-speed train to Shanghai at 6 o'clock and arrived in front of the bank in Shanghai at about 9:30. It seems that there was already a considerable line at that time. June 3 is Saturday, so it seems that work was closed. In China, there are quite a few banks that are open on Saturdays and Sundays. Banks in Japan usually close at 3 o'clock and are not open on Saturdays and Sundays. I think that the business hours of Japanese banks do not match the current situation in Japan. And in the case of Japan, there is almost no difference in the services of each bank. All banks have roughly the same business hours and interest rates on deposits are basically the same. This may be because there is a force at work to curb competition among banks. However, in China, the competition between banks is fierce, and each bank tries to do something different from other banks in order to win depositors. And that's not all. China has a large land area, so the economic environment is different in each region. The economic environment in China as a whole is deteriorating, and there are many unemployed people, and exports are declining. In that case, bank management will have to be changed in accordance with the actual situation of each region. In China, interest rates may vary from branch to branch, even within the same bank. I personally think that there is a size that is just right for the size of a country. If the national land is too large and the economic environment is different in each region, the system will become extremely complicated in order to adapt to the actual situation, or the system will be forced into a rigid system that cannot respond to the actual situation in each region. That's it. So, in modern society, very rich countries are often small countries. The reason why so-called deposit special soldiers have appeared in China now is because the interest rates are higher in banks in cities such as Shanghai than in local banks. Because there are circumstances. Comparing Shaoxing and Shanghai, the difference in interest for depositing 100,000 yuan for 3 years is 1,650 yuan. 100,000 yuan is about 2 million yen. If you deposit 2 million yen for 3 years, the difference in interest will be about 30,000 yen, which is 1,650 yuan in Shanghai and commerce. In order to capture this interest rate difference, you move from a low interest rate area to a high interest rate area and make a deposit there. If you just deposit money, it may become negative when you consider the transportation expenses to and from, so I will go sightseeing in Shanghai when I go to Shanghai and come back. By the way, it is not new that the interest rate that can be obtained when depositing money in a bank is not constant in various parts of China. Why is this trend spreading recently? Banks are facing financial difficulties, and small banks and regional banks are forced to lower deposit interest rates. In other words, it reflects the current state of the Chinese economy. Banks cannot do business unless they lend money somewhere and collect interest, but there is not much demand for funds in China today. Banks have to pay interest to their depositors even though they cannot make a profit. Compared to areas where the economy is declining, the interest rates of banks in Shanghai, where the economy is still strong, are quite different. In the past, the difference was very small, so if I had to go all the way to Shanghai to save money, it would cost me a lot of money for transportation, and the whole day would be wasted. I'm here. And this is not the only story. In fact, the fact that young people go out of their way to open a bank account in order to earn interest means that young people have no intention of spending the money they have on hand for the time being. Fixed deposits have higher interest rates, so if you put them in a fixed deposit for the time being, the money will sit idle for a while. In the past, China used to have a good economy, and people used to spend money because they thought they could earn more and more in the future. However, in today's China, it's not uncommon to hear news that you can't know when you'll lose your job, your salary will be reduced, or your salary won't be paid. That kind of thing is happening even at quite a major company, so it means that young people are on the defensive. An increase in bank deposits sounds good, but for the economy as a whole it means that consumption is sluggish, so it's basically a negative trend. The older generation, who have experienced the bubble economy in China, are basically conservative in their way of thinking, and more people do not want to take risks. When it comes to what these people do with their current assets, many of them save money. I don't think you should think about buying stocks or buying condominiums and investing in real estate. Many people borrowed money from banks to buy condominiums because they had the chance to make more money than they could risk. There are people around me who are actually making money, so I'm going to try to do it myself, but in China now, the price of condominiums has fallen and only mortgages are left, so there is a high possibility that it will be negative. The natural instinct to avoid risks has become dominant, and middle-aged and older people are no longer saving money and taking risks. Therefore, in China, deposits are increasing significantly, but consumption is sluggish. And once it flows into deposits, in the case of China, the supply capacity is too large, so fine-tuning is not effective. If this happens, deflation will continue until the excess supply capacity is eliminated. Consumers are refraining from spending, but there are still many suppliers. If China can get out of this situation, communism with a planned economy would be wonderful, but the CCP does not care about the country as a whole or the lives of its citizens. Even if the lives of the Chinese people as a whole become more difficult in the future, the Communist Party's upper echelons think that they should be safe anyway. The Communist Party thinks that it is better for the Chinese people to be poor as a whole, if the Chinese people as a whole become rich, and there are people like Jack Ma who openly express negative opinions about the policies of the Communist Party. It's the government. That's all for now. See you next time.